Good morning, guys. So today's video is going to be the July tour. I'm just going to go through everything that's going on in the garden and what's growing, under cover still as well, and just sort of go through some of the successes and failures. And there has been a few failures this year. So I'm going to start with a bit of a success and a failure. So the success is these lovely San Marzano plum tomatoes, which are, really great little truss there of quite like large, heavy, thick tomatoes. Now the failure is this piece of string here is meant to be underground under the root ball, but what I've realized is that this string is a sort of natural material which is unfortunately rotted and kind of basically has now meant my tomatoes aren't supported. And as these are an indeterminate tomato, it has meant I've had to do some really kind of like bodge job sort of tie-in fixes to really try and support them. But fortunately, we haven't really lost any tomatoes or anything or any plants, so generally pretty happy with how this is going. Now, in the world of tomatoes, I've got these bush type growing out of pots here, and it doesn't look the healthiest plant. It looks a bit of a mess, really, but some of the tomatoes are starting to ripen, and we have harvested a few now, and they are absolutely amazing. The sweetest sort of tomato that I've ever eaten. I don't really like cherry tomatoes typically, but these ones are absolutely amazing, and there's so many of them as well. So as long as I can get to them before my children, I should be able to enjoy some harvests. So continuing the theme of what's growing under cover are my chili plants, and really impressed with these. So here, and I'll do some zoom in videos, I've got the sort of mild serrano chili pepper. Not very many fruits, but enough for what I want. In front of me here, I've got the very spicy habanero chilies, and I've got about 5 or 6 fruits on there, and still flowers to come. So really impressed with this one. And over here, this one is ridiculous and probably not what I want, is the long slim cayenne chili peppers. These are super spicy and they go from green to orange to red. Now, unfortunately, I didn't label these very well, and I thought these ones were potentially a green serrano chili pepper. So I ate one, almost severely burnt my mouth, I think, on how spicy it was, and basically ended up eating a unripe cayenne chili pepper rather than a mild, ripe serrano chili pepper. So lesson learned: always label your plants. And if you're like me and don't like spice, it feels like an almost fatal mistake. So I thought before we go over to the vegetable garden, I'd stop by the blueberry bush and show you how that's getting on. Doesn't look like masses of changes, but every now and again there's a random blueberry which is now ripening and everything. So I'll try and get a few pictures of that. However, again, a bit like the tomatoes, my children are like the biggest sort of pest for this plant at this time. So I'd probably thought I'd start with one of the coolest things in the garden at this time, which is my bolted Lola Rosa lettuce. So back in March, I planted Lola Rosa lettuce here. I was harvesting it all through sort of May, June time, and I decided to let 2 plants run to seed. Um, do not eat lettuce leaves when the plant is bolted. It's extremely bitter and it left the most horrible aftertaste in my mouth. I ate it, so you don't have to. Now the flower heads here are super cool, structural, sort of almost ornamental like plant now, but I'll do a few close-ups for you of the plant and stuff, but I really can't wait to see this flower. And then I'm going to collect seeds from it for next year. Now, the same bed that had a Lola Rosa growing out of is also probably the quietest bed at the minute. It looks almost as if it's bare, but it's not. Everything's just very small. So I've got a few choice some in here that I'm just sort of growing, just filling space. I've got parsnips here, which are doing quite well. I've got about 5 or 6, but really annoyingly, I've got this massive gap. It's kind of frustrating. I've got my nasturtium, which I'm a bit worried I'm going to have loads of seeds in my vegetable bed, but it's really nice. Bees love it, and potentially it's keeping away some pests. In front of me here, 2 really small plants are Mizuna lettuce, and then growing under this bird netting on this part of the sort of bed is some chard seedlings, rocket, and lamb's lettuce. And then in front of me here, in this kind of trench, I've got my Christmas potatoes, which I'm just waiting to germinate. Now, here we are at the butterfly kingdom, or otherwise known as my hoop house bed. Everything's growing really well in here, but yeah, a massive pest is the butterflies. they get in through this netting really easily, and pretty much every day I'm having to squish eggs or kill caterpillars in order to keep my vegetables alive. But other than that, it's going quite well, and I'll quickly take you through what we've got growing in here. So, starting on the right hand side of the bed, choy sum is what I'm growing here. It's being absolutely ravaged by flea beetle, but while I'm filming this, there's a cute little hoverfly. See if I can get him in focus. Growing on the, or drinking from the nectar of the choy sum flower. Trying to get my words out there. And I've got a couple more. I'm just really trying. I've never grown it before, just sort of interested to grow it. I've got some beetroot again that I'm trying here. Hopefully it won't run to seed, and hopefully I'll actually get some harvest, which will be amazing. And then moving along down here, I've got the mass of cabbage and kale. I've got one red cabbage, which is really small. I think he's doing okay. But he was the only one that germinated, which is a massive shame. And then, this is a bit of a failure. I decided I would grow a row of carrots down the middle as like a kind of catch crop, or cash crop. I'm not sure what the term is, but yeah, these plants got way bigger. Sorry, got big very quickly. So I'm not sure they'll all end up being a harvest, but I thought I'd give it a go. And just while we're talking about caterpillars and butterflies and pests and things, I was just doing my sort of annual inspection, or my, sorry, not annual, daily inspection. And this is what butterfly eggs typically look like. A nice little cluster there for me to sort of smush. And here is enemy number one, the cabbage white butterfly caterpillar. Kind of cute looking, but not cute when he's like eating the hell out of all my plants. So do I kill him, or do I just yeet him somewhere? Probably going to yeet him somewhere because he's a big boy and I'll make a mess if I squish him. Just quickly as well, I thought I'd show you the number of butterflies in my garden. So I've got like 2 over here. I don't know how well these are going to come up on camera. 1, 2, and see loads fluttering over by the vegetable patch as well. It's a bit of a nightmare. So this bed here is still probably my favourite bed. I've got the leeks, which are romping away, doing really well. Small signs of rust, which I don't know how worried to be. I know rust can eventually stop the plant photosynthesizing and stop it growing, but right now I'm just sort of cutting off leaves that look quite badly affected and trying to thin out any of the really small leeks I'm getting rid of from the clumps, because, you know, as long as there's 2 or 3 per clump, I figure that's going to be plenty of leeks for me and my family. Now, I really want to talk about something super cool here, and I don't know if I've stumbled across this or whether this is a well-known thing, but what I've got here is a Brussels sprout plant. What I've got here is coriander, which has gone to seed, and it is flowering. And this Brussels sprout plant, I have never protected it. I've never put a netting over it. I've never put a fleece over it, or insect mesh or anything like that. It's just doing its own thing. And Brussels sprout plants, everything eats Brussels sprout plants, whether it's pigeons, whether it's caterpillars, slugs, whatever it is, gets eaten by it. And this plant is thriving, relatively untouched. So I don't know if it's because I've got this growing next to it, whether the sort of scent from the coriander is masking the scent of the Brussels sprout plants and pests aren't finding it, or whether some of the beneficial insects, you know, parasitic wasps and things like that, are attracted to coriander and then are preying on things that would be eating my Brussels sprout plant. But for whatever reason, this method I've got here of companion planting is working. So if you're out there and you're struggling with Brussels sprouts or maybe other brassicas, maybe give coriander a go. Really easy to grow, and it bolts super easy as well. So you're always going to get the flowers. And I got a feeling potentially the beneficial insects being attracted by this might be why this Brussels sprout plant is as good as it is. I'll try and get a picture of some of the insects I'm finding all over this plant all the time. And it's very often things I've never seen before I don't recognize as well. So one of the great successes about this year has been the pea arch. I've had more peas than I can possibly eat. It's starting to go over now. Lots of the peas are sort of drying. I'm going to harvest a few of them for obviously seed next year. Varieties Alderman. But I also think maybe next year I'm going to try something like growing beans up this, or potentially even squashes. I really want to try growing squashes on an arch, but we'll see next year. Okay, so this is the squash and sunflower bed. And I was a bit worried about some of these plants. I was worried I got them in too late and that they weren't going to grow. I wasn't going to get harvests and things like that. But I no longer am worried about this. I think they are absolutely romping away. Lots of flowers, new flowers all the time. Some fruit is setting, and these sunflowers as well are absolute monsters. Really can't wait to see them flower though, and really brighten up this sort of bed here as well. So that concludes the July tour. I really hope you enjoy watching. In August, we're going to be doing lots on sort of propagating and preparing for sort of the dreaded autumn, winter. But yeah, really hope you enjoy watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you again for more garden videos.